Hi there, I'm Adrian Kelly. I'm the tutor in ancient Greek literature at Balliol College, Oxford, and I'm also an associate professor in classics at the University of Oxford. And my main areas of research are early Greek epic from the 8th to 6th centuries BC, and Athenian tragedy and comedy and culture more generally in the 5th and 4th centuries BC. Well, the work that we like to give to the students is a mixture of reading and writing. So the way in which I do it, and other tutors will do it in a different way, that's really one of the strengths of the Oxford tutorial system, that you can get people doing things in radically different ways. But the way that I like to do it is to give them a topic sheet with a series of relatively clear questions at the top, and then a list of journal articles and book chapters that they need to read in order to get ready to answer the question. So I tell them, go away and read all of that stuff, write down notes, think about it during the course of your lectures, talk about it with the other students, because that's really also one of the great things that we get them to do. We like them to get involved in collaborative learning. And then from your notes, start to think about how you'd structure an essay. And in that essay, we ask them to address the several questions that we've written at the top of the topic sheet. And we ask them to hand that essay in the night before the tute. Now, other tutors will do it in slightly different ways, so that they'll get them to bring the essay to the tute and they then read it out. But I don't like doing that. I think actually the student's thinking has already taken place. And what I want to do is to take in the essay first, see what the student's done, and then think about the sorts of things that I've got to do in order to get them to take the next couple of steps. And so that's how I like to run the tutorial work. The tutorial structure will vary according to what the tutor does. So if you're one of the tutors who likes to have students read out their essays, then you'll get them to come into the room, sit them down, have a couple of words with them just to say hi and let them feel that they're in a slightly relaxed space. And then just get one of them to start reading out their essay and invite the other student to stop the first student whenever they have a question. But I'm not one of those tutors. I like to sort of read the essays the night before. So when we're actually in the tute, I've got a series of themes that I want to get us to cover. And so I'll say, well, why don't you give us a précis of your essay and the things that you argued and what you thought was the really crucial thing. So you'll let the student give a very small presentation for a couple of minutes, and then that's it. And then you'll stop them. You'll ask the other student what they thought of that, how their own treatment differed, if at all. Some of the time it doesn't. They write the same essays. But then what I do is I then say, right, well, out of that précis, what I can see, there are three major themes that we've got to focus on. And we then spend the time talking about those themes. And I'll try to get them talking first, and I'll ask them questions. The best tutes are those where the tutor is not saying very much at all. But often, because of the fact that lectures are not really a large part of the way in which students learn here, they learn much more in their own time and during the course of the tutes. One of the things that I'll find is that one of my duties as a tutor is to give them the basic kind of information that they need in order to answer the questions that I'm asking. So I try to facilitate what happens, and the very best tutes, you get two students talking to one another and you're not saying a word. And that does happen, and when it does happen, it's amazing. It's just brilliant. There are a number of ways in which we can explore ideas with the students. Obviously, you start out with the student essay and you want to see how far they've gone into a certain question. So you're always trying to build on what it is that they've done so that they feel that there's a collaborative learning environment, and it's not just one where I'm telling them things and they're writing it down, because that's boring. It's boring for me, it's boring for them. So some of the time it's by giving them new ways of looking at the stuff they have already written down. Some of the time it's by questioning them and seeing where their arguments have fallen down, and then trying to challenge them to make those arguments stronger. What are the kinds of questions that you need to ask in order to hold the thesis, given some of the questions that I have asked. But it's always about question and answer. It's always about trying to get the students to think on their own feet, but to work from what it is that they've got. Because students here, we ask them to work very hard, and they do work really hard. And the quality of work that they bring into the tute is a really good basis for further learning. So it's always about getting the students to do the work before the tute and then making sure that we push them past it. The thing I enjoy the most about conversations with the students are the unscripted moments, because I've been doing this job now for almost 20 years. And you can always tell with any given topic that there are 3 or 4 things that almost any student is going to say, right? Because these are the basic things that you've got to say in order to get to grips with a topic. But what I love it is when students go off that script and they just start to make connections that I haven't seen. And so what I really like is when students say something that is completely out of left field and that I've never thought before, and it's, oh, I'm going to have to pause and think about that. And I really like that moment. I really like that moment of intellectual stimulation. And we're really lucky in Oxford, particularly in Balliol, because of the quality of students that we get, that you will get those sorts of questions. And they challenge you to think about not only your own knowledge, but the way in which you've been approaching the whole question. So that's really what I like most. The students help me with my own research and thinking about the parameters of my subject in a number of different ways. One of those ways is that I'm lucky enough to research in some of the core areas that I teach. So Homeric epic, Athenian drama, these are the things that are very popular in our courses, and we get lots of students wanting to take those papers. And so it means that when I'm coming up with something which I feel is an answer to a problem in the scholarship, I can try it out on my students. And that makes them kind of guinea pigs in a weird sort of way. But it's actually really useful for me because they are very supple thinkers. They haven't yet been sort of forced into a certain way of dealing with a type of question. And they're much more open to different possibilities. And so I find that it's been tremendously useful. There was I think when about 5 or 6 years ago, every single thing that I'd published, I had first tried on students in Balliol. And it was great. I get so much out of seeing them engaging with my own weird and wacky thoughts that when I'm able to draw on that for my further research, that really helps. And that's one of the reasons why the Tutor is just the very best sort of teaching environment, because the teacher gets out of it as much as the students do. I want to see enthusiasm first. And what I mean by that is not just someone who'll come into the room and say, I really love Homer or I really love drama, but it's someone who's shown that they really love Homer and they really love drama by going beyond what they've been able to do at school. Some of our students will have studied Homer and drama at school, some of them won't, but I'm looking for the same thing regardless of the schooling background, which is, have you pushed yourself beyond what you had to do? Is your enthusiasm of the sort that it's really driven you actually to learn something and to engage with this topic? And if it has, then that's really crucial. It's our job then to take that enthusiasm, to make sure that students got the ability in order to do the degree here, and then push them on and shape them as students. But it's that enthusiasm at the start which has a real basis rather than just saying, oh, I really like Homer. That's kind of what we're looking for. There are quite a few really good things about teaching at Balliol. First of all, from a classics point of view, we've got a really large classics school here. Most other colleges just have 1 or 2 classicists. We have 4. And that means that we get lots and lots of students. And so on the one hand, that means a big teaching burden. But on the other hand, it means lots and lots of really clever students that you get to deal with. So the size really helps. But it's also the quality of students at Balliol. We get really good, clever, engaged, different students. We don't take all of our students from one schooling background. We really like to see people coming at these texts from a variety of different angles. And so it's the diversity and the quality of the people here that I really like.